the 71st episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the first week of December 2011. This episode is titled CloudForce New York 2011. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud community experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me for the 71st time, co-host, Justin Elstein. It's funny how the title and the podcast have a very similar sound. They sound this
probably
similar.
Hard to read.
It's a little hard to read, and you didn't even write this one. I
didn't
this
write
one.
it, no.
CloudForce New York and CloudFocus. Anyway.
It's difficult.
It is. So that's all we're going to talk about. That's our agenda, because it just happened, and we were there, and I think we have some thoughts.
You know what I think is worth mentioning before we talk about CloudForce?
What?
That our agenda is not on a Google Wave.
This might be the last episode ever that you hear us talk about the Google Wave, because the first part of the non-agenda is that they are finally actually shutting down Google Wave.
I cannot be more displeased.
I am displeased, but I'm a optimistic person. So while we are moving away from Google Wave, this agenda is not written. It's in Google Docs, and Google Docs, you know, it's not the same. But I like that it has so many more features, and that it's going to continue to have more features that I'm excited about. I'm excited about all the stuff that I can do now that Wave, while it didn't do, and I never really kind of thought, you know, every once in a while I was like, why can't it do templates? And why can't I really folder stuff better? And boy, when I collect things, they don't really show the people, and the mobile really doesn't work. And so all that stuff's going away. Anyway, there will be no Google. There will be no more. I think we're going to try a Google Wave week next week. See how that goes, or read-only Google Wave, because by the end of January, they're all going to be read-only. So let's get to it. So CloudForce New York, for all of you who don't know what that is, or CloudForce in general, Salesforce event. They put on sort of their Dreamforce Lite, I guess. They do them around the country. So they do them, there's been one in Boston. There was one in New York, obviously. I know they do them around the world. I think they've done one in... Do they call the one in London, they call that CloudForce or Dreamforce? I think it's CloudForce. I don't think
they used to call them Tour de Force.
Yeah.
Like Tour de France.
Yeah. That's
France.
France.
I'm not sure if they call them CloudForce. Sometimes they call them Executive Summits.
Yeah.
They call them different things, but
there is
the bigger ones are...
Dreamforces.
Well, no, the bigger ones are CloudForce.
But then
the
big
one
is
is
only
Dreamforce.
one.
I think there's a Dreamforce Europe, and I don't know where it is. It might be in Paris. It might be in London.
Yeah.
We probably should know, but we don't.
I will say, so what it is, for those of you who didn't know or didn't go, it was this last Wednesday. And it's basically a one-day Dreamforce. Free, which is different than Dreamforce.
Freeforce.
In the Jacob Javits Center. All day long. Although if you're in and around partners and whatever, there's stuff that happens before, the night before, and there's stuff that happens afterwards. But basically, it's the same thing. It's just mini. So you got a keynote in the morning, and then you got sessions throughout the day, and then you have lunch, and you have a cocktail reception, and then you're done.
Don't forget the expo floor
and the expo floor. I remember when it was about 100 people in a hotel lobby. And I've seen it grow every single year to now. I don't know what the numbers were, but I feel like 4,000 or 5,000, 3,000.
Well, they touted 10,000 registered. You got to throw half of that out, I think.
5,000.
So probably somewhere around 4.
It felt like that. I mean, when we were in that expo, we're in the keynote. It felt like a large hall with a lot of people in it.
It was a large hall with a lot of people.
There you go. So that's what it felt like. So let's talk about that first. It was. The typical thing. Like if you had been to Dreamforce and you fell asleep during Dreamforce and then you came back and watched the CloudForce New York, you basically got the same thing you dreamt about the whole time, because you have Mark Benioff, he has some special guests, in fact, some of the same special guests. You have a lot of the same jokes. I tweeted about that. I thought that was funny. Everybody still laughs at the same jokes, no matter how old or bad they are. Definitely condensed, I thought. And 120% focused on the social enterprise. The only thing I think that was a little bit different was that they brought in newer use cases. So like they talked about the Netflix collapse and how they had 82,000 negative comments. They talked about Occupy Wall Street, which started off with like a blog post or a Twitter feed or a Tumblr account, and has turned into the phenomenon that we know it. Did they talk about one other?
Yeah, the nanny who did something with Bank of America.
Yeah, they were going to do $5 fees for Bank of America, and she fought against it using social networks. So it's all basically trying to prove the social world and basically the use case for the social enterprise. So now I know I'm gonna play a different role than you because first of all I sat sort of next to you. There's another big guy in between us who should remain nameless. But my feeling was you were just generally pretty negative on the keynote.
A little pessimistic.
Yeah. So go ahead and explain it, and maybe we'll play a little pro and con guy.
Are you
less pessimistic now than you were then?
Yeah.
Oh,
I got to it's been marinating overnight.
Yeah.
So I let it marinate a little in the fridge.
Along with the Smith & Wolenski's.
Along with that. But what I take away from these social enterprise keynotes is I get that it's a vision, and what I don't appreciate is having it like jammed down my throat when afterwards I still can't necessarily articulate what it is. So I get this message of social and collaboration and open and this and that, but as a nose to the grindstone, doing this every single day, working on Salesforce for many, many, many different clients, I'd be hard pressed if they were to ask me, what exactly is this social enterprise and how can I use it?
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily be able to give them a good answer without fumbling and bumbling around. And I wouldn't know where to necessarily start except for turn on this social contacts feature, which I don't think is very good.
Right.
Turn on chatter, which is a checkbox and a little strategy behind how you're going to roll it out, some training. And then the other piece with the networks, I don't think the product is necessarily there. Like I don't necessarily see it. Like the platform's there and you could build it for millions and millions of dollars. You have Burberry up on stage showing their vision of digital and social Burberry world. But you and I know we're sitting there and that's a year to 2 year project that costs millions and millions of dollars. And they're showing it like, yeah, snap it together, drag it around, drop it, deploy it. It's live, it's chatter, it's cool. And I don't feel like there's the appreciation for there's still a lot of work to make this thing work, and it's not just snap the pieces together. And they make it seem like it's snap the pieces together. Let's show a demo of Radiant 6 pulling things into Salesforce and then pushing an ad out to a mobile device. That doesn't exist.
So I think I'm gonna have a good analogy for your perspective. You're at the auto show.
Yeah.
And you're
show me a fast car.
No, you're a designer of cars.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in the manufacturing of cars. Your job is to build plants that build cars, right? Real cars that have to produce 300,000 cars a minute or a day or whatever they do, a year. And then what they do on the stage is they roll out the new concept vehicle.
Right.
It does this and that and has mobile and built-in Wi-Fi and it talks to you and it can blow up its own tires.
It can fly.
And it can fly. And you're the guy who sits there going, yeah, but I'm the guy who has to deliver on that, and that's all cool, but that's marketing hype versus reality. So I get some of your pessimism. But I will say, you say that they connect those dots and they say, this is snap, snap, snap. Never in that presentation, and I've now heard it twice, he never says, this took 5 minutes. I've heard him say it before. When he does, like, recruiting, we always make the joke about the recruiting demo, which is, look, I can build recruiting in, 2 minutes. And you and I know that because we build applications and things for the time, yeah, some things are snapped together and some things are not. And I think what we bring to the table is that since there's so much that is snapped together, like, again, turning on chatter is literally a click. Building a chatter portal for your entire workforce and rolling it out and building custom widgets that pull in stuff from SAP, that is not a click. So what I think maybe your issue is, and I'll give you some credence for it, is that they're connecting things in the same bucket that are literally as easy as a click to 6-month multi-man-hour, projects, and they're putting them all together, and they're not really distinguishing. They're not saying to you on stage, this piece is simple. This piece is really freaking hard. They don't say that. They just say, here's it is at the end, and isn't it great? And so, but again, I don't know if the presentation would be better if they go, this is easy and this is hard. Because a lot of what they show, and again, when they do their demos, showing Chatter Now, which I'm excited about, when they show customer groups, when they show social contacts, it does all look easy, and they show you real live working examples. And so it is sort of this very simple thing. Like I'm sure the Toyota friend car thing, whatever. No, that's not a button. There's no button in Salesforce. You turn on the friend. And I'll even remind of myself, which is many years ago. You went to one of these events, and I said to you, they showed the dashboard, that social, this was before they actually had Radiant 6, they showed this dashboard of like all the different channels and what's happening.
Yeah, the
like
Service Cloud. Yeah, there's the Service Cloud.
With this graph that showed you everybody how they're talking. And I was the first person that says, I've never seen that. I've never seen it working. I've never seen it anywhere, and yet they put it in the middle of their slide like it should be there. So I get it. I get some of that. But what we have to understand as Salesforce people, and who are a little bit too deep with Salesforce, I mean, at this point, couldn't be any deeper unless we own some stock, is that is part of their thing, is vision. And vision then leads to these successes. So I'll counter your point with this. We rolled out Chatter. We rolled out to a community bank the other day, right?
Yep.
Went live with it.
Yep.
I did training on site, and we had a chance to go back and check in with them and say, how are things going? Right? It's been a month or so. You've been using Chatter. You've been using the thing. It was a pretty big project for us, and so whatever. So we're there, and I said, how has Chatter been? Because we're in a smaller org, and Chatter in a smaller org is kind of like, And we've heard a couple stories from Salesforce. In fact, on the day before, we went to another event called Spark, where we heard some really cool Chatter stories, but they're all Salesforce internal stories, where it's kind of like, you're eating your own dog food. Of course it's going to sound good. But we asked this client, hey, how's Chatter been? You're in a big-ish org. You got lots of people using it. Big-ish or smallish org, but still enough people. Has it been helpful? Have you had any use cases? And our client rattled off 2 or maybe 3 really cool examples of where Chatter changed the scope of what they were doing. Like this, that's only been alive for a month. And I think, while there is a lot of hype, when we went to check with the reality and put our finger on the pulse, wow, no, that stuff's really happening. And happening to people we know, and they're not lying about it, and they're not hyping it, and they're not up on stage. They're talking about real life examples of where Chatter really is working. And where I've put my head around social enterprise, which I agree, seems like this nice term. It's kind of like cloud computing. It's like it's this thing. Well, what is it? Define it for me. Social enterprise is, sure, you could build collaboration tools inside. That's not social enterprise. That's a part of it. You can build things that talk to external sources. That's not social enterprise. That's part of it. It's when you start to look at your world, your entire world as an organization, whether that be a nonprofit, whether that be a for-profit, a bank, whatever. When you start to look at the way that your apps work together, the way that you treat your customers, the way that you treat your internal employees, less than the old-fashioned hierarchy pyramid, and more like they're all part of this social network. This bigger than the social network, Facebook, Twitter, bigger than that. And we're starting to look at running our enterprise in a social way. And that does include Chatter. Chatter is sort of saying you're running your enterprise you're making approvals to things in Chatter using a sort of social technology or methodology. You're actually making business decisions in there. That's the social enterprise. Knowing more about your clients and knowing their last 3 tweets, which is something that does exist. I actually connected up to our client today, and that was the first client on Social Contacts that I actually got all 3 of them to work out of the box. The Facebook, the Twitter, and the LinkedIn. They all worked.
I've gotten that before.
With someone you didn't know?
With someone I didn't know?
Meaning, yeah, you're not Facebooked in with them.
Oh, I don't think so.
And not only that, it pulled up all 3. First shot, like it literally hit the first Twitter, the first Facebook. It was pretty good. I was impressed. First time it's worked. Anywho, knowing that about them. The other day, I give you an example on my own social contact. I went into we were meeting with a prospect, and we were meeting at CloudForce, and I don't know what she looks like. and supposed to be meeting in a crowd of people. And so I went I logged into my iPad, and I logged into Salesforce, and I looked at her contact. And I had, in Salesforce, I had connected her up to her LinkedIn profile. There's her picture, and I literally look up, and she's walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, that's her. That's part of the social enterprise. Again, I think it's hard to really define in a word or two or sentence or two. Someone gave you a really good definition, but you didn't...
They did, and I
didn't remember it.
Forgot it. I'm going to come back.
Okay.
That's all good.
That was a lot.
It's a lot.
I think
I mean, there's a couple... Again, you're right. The good analogy is I'm the car manufacturer, and Mark Benioff is the car salesman who's showing 2018's car.
Right.
There's a couple, but as they demo things, as like Demo Dan and Craig is up there, and Craig Swensrud is like, and that's social service cloud.
Right.
I'm like, well, not really, because I know what you just showed us isn't a sham. It all worked, but
doesn't work as fluid.
Well, you're showing inbound CTI, and I know that you have to run that on your Windows machine, and you get the call, and it does the screen pop, and that's great. Then on the other hand, you're showing me outbound FaceTiming, which, does that work on the same machine? I don't know. Does FaceTime work on a PC?
I don't know.
Not to my knowledge. That's a Mac OS X thing.
Right.
So here you're showing me one demo that doesn't actually really work.
Right.
Like, you're showing me it on two different machines because you have to, because it wouldn't work on one. And that demo's a little tired. You're on your iPhone. Let me FaceTime you.
Right.
Yeah, right. Like, sorry, but right.
It's also a link within Apple, within Mac. It's a link to pop a FaceTime to a number.
I get it, but it's like, yeah, right. Okay. Oh, and you happen to need help with that DVI case. I could walk through that demo now because I've seen it like 18 times.
Well, they changed it. It was server, and now it's...
The first time it was sort of cool. Now it's like, I don't think so. Like, and it misses... To me, that misses the mark. That misses the mark.
What mark, though?
The mark that makes me angry. Like, I see that...
Me, Justin?
Justin, me. That's not about me. If you're going to say the social's about everybody, well, that one's not about me. That one misses me. Because in my mind, and maybe I'm the IT guy from 2004 that's saying cloud's never going to work. I just don't see it, right? And maybe I'll be proven wrong over time, and I hope I am. I hope this is the next thing since sliced bread. But those whole examples of, and that's the social service cloud. Like, after he shows us this FaceTime thing where that's not that's not it. I'm not calling into a call center. They're not going to ask me if I'm on an iPhone and click something and all of a sudden we're looking at each other. The first time that happens, I'll be really excited. But it's never going to happen. It's not.
It might happen if you call Apple. That's what I could say.
Maybe.
If you call Apple, they actually had when FaceTime first came out, they had a way to test FaceTime, and it was to call Apple people. There were people in their call centers, so you could test it by calling them. Because it was, it was like, who has it? Well, I don't know who has it, but you can call Apple, and they'll actually answer the phone, and like there'll be a person there going, "It looks like your FaceTime works. This is how it works." But yes, it's not. I agree. It's like
that wave the magic wand, and it's like, and that's the social service cloud. But maybe that's not the social service cloud.
That's the vision. That's where I think you get caught. You have to drop some of the reality and say, and again, it's,
it's hard to do that when you're the person who's making the sausage. It's like, I need to I need to know that thing that you're showing on the stage that my customers are going to ask me to do can be done.
Right, but again, I don't think they show you anything that can't be done. I think they show you stuff that is not as easy as what they show you it to be.
I believe that they showed us some things that can't be done.
I think that, listen, I agree with you. I've had plenty of times where I've looked at stuff that they've shown. I mean, Knowledge is the one that I always looked at when they originally showed it, way back when, 2 years ago, whatever, New Knowledge. And I remember watching the guy, I think I was in a private meeting with them when we worked at the big place that we shall not talk about. And I remember looking at him demo this. I think he was a pretty high up guy. He might have been the guy that came over from the company, whatever. And I remember him clicking around and doing all this. And then I said, you know what? That looks great. But here's the thing. What you just did took 14 clicks to do. what my call center is asking to do is reduce clicks. And right now, the thing that I do in our org takes 2 clicks, and you just showed 14 clicks. And while that's all fun and games, call centers aren't about fancy documents. Call centers are about speed and about handling requests as fast as possible and going on to the next one and handling them well, and that's it. Because call centers they're a cost center, and they're about money being lost. And so all that fancy clicking around and sorting and faceted navigation, people don't want that. They want speed. They want click, click, done. Click, click, open and close case in a second.
And I couldn't agree more. I'm just going to give my last one.
On the
my
keynote.
last rant on the
last
keynote.
rant.
And then we can move beyond it.
Okay.
And this is a little bit of a pet peeve where, again, I feel like there's a little smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Where they show the social contacts
Yes.
and the conversations
Yes.
as being one thing. Like, here, look, here's Jason's picture.
Right.
Here's his Facebook. Here's his Twitter.
Right.
Here's his LinkedIn.
Right.
We're not going to talk about that one.
Well, at least they don't show the full version of
No,
LinkedIn.
they don't, because if they did, that would be bogus.
You'd stand up.
Oh, I would.
Boo!
I'd start throwing things.
Boo!
But-
Start throwing
but-
your Salesforce pin at them.
But, you know,
No
they
software.
show that, and again, there's definitely value. You just illustrated a few real use cases. There's definitely value
Yep.
to seeing the person's picture, their conversations, knowing what they're about. But then there's this list called and there's all the conversations.
Right.
And there's all the apps they have installed
Right.
from Facebook. And they don't tell you they're not connected, but they don't tell you they're connected.
Right.
They don't tell you they're not connected.
But this is like, again, this is from a
This
guy
is
who
the
makes,
guy who has to
make the sausage.
get people who come to him and say, hey, that was awesome.
Right.
I want that. I want to be able to I want to be able to, like, every time someone tweets at me, bring it in, and I want to, like, in real time, like, talk right back. That
Right.
happens when I just have their picture, right?
Right.
Actually, there's an app exchange package that you have to install. You have to run these searches that you have to run them manually and hope that you have to know that no, it doesn't really work that way.
Right.
At
And
the
it's
end of
not-
the day,
and
they're not connected
right.
at all.
There's caveats. There's definitely caveats.
But they don't show it with caveats. They show it as candy.
Well, but that's like, okay. But my counter argument to that is they also don't put up the price of anything either, right? So that's a caveat. Everything's a caveat. Sure, you could do this, but do you realize it's $125 per user per month to do? Like, you know, there's lots of caveats. It's like they show us nice big vehicles, and they say, this vehicle plugs in. It's 100% electric. The caveat is there's no place in the world to plug it in. Or, like with the new Leaf, if you ever looked it up, I went and spent a lot of time looking it up because I thought that was really interesting.
I've seen the commercial.
Oh, it looks like you have an electric car, and you can plug it in home. Do they tell you that you have to have something that costs $30,000 installed in your home to plug it in?
No.
And you have to have a guy come to your house, and even they have a program where they come and evaluate your house to see if you even can own the car. Because they can come to your house and say, you don't have the power to handle this thing they were about to install, so you can then drive this car. So that's all caveats. I don't know. Again, I'm usually pretty negative on this, and maybe just you being negative makes me be positive on it. You know,
I think that's the case.
yin and the yang of it. I like the vision, and I'm beginning to get my head around where the vision is and where it should be. And so I like the vision. I like what he's saying. I also am okay with the caveats because they're always there. I will say, and I've said this about Salesforce before, and I've been on the negative side, I wish it was a little bit more like Apple used to be or was with Steve Jobs. Whenever he got up and showed you the new iPad 2 and went through 5 demos, he would then get up and say, available in a month for $4.99. Done. It wasn't, oh, and you got to install this, or oh, you got to have this, whatever. It was available in a month for $4.99. You want one? You go buy one. Right? It will work like this. And they do. There's nothing I've ever owned at Apple that they showed something on stage that I went and tried it and there's like it didn't work. It works exactly the way they show it. To a T. Nothing. Right? You know, or a bug or whatever. But it's not like they never show something that's kind of has to be put together. You open up your Apple, you turn it on, it works. Maybe Wi-Fi syncing.
Maybe Wi-Fi syncing, maybe white iPhones, but whatever.
Okay. So anyway, let's move on. So that was the keynote. Then afterwards, there was a bunch
That was the keynote?
That was the keynote.
I think we spent a lot of time on CloudForce, just the keynote.
Well, I mean, overall. So besides the keynote, I thought it's in a newer area. They put it in a new area. I thought the keynote felt very much like it was sitting in the keynote as before,
Yeah,
it was
the
like
stage was set up the same way.
yeah, it was in the middle, like
That's
right in
how
the
they
center.
did it at Dreamforce, where it wasn't. Nobody was necessarily right in front of the stage.
Right.
He walked around.
Yeah.
He did his walk around deal.
And I like that the TVs they set up they do that all.
You
very
don't need
well.
to even be close. They got the screens. You're good.
And he walks down towards you. He walked right.
He was
by
right
us.
in front of us.
Yeah, which,
felt like he was a rock star.
Well, it feels a little weird because you can hear him talking.
Yeah, you can
and
hear
then,
him.
Then it comes out the thing. The expo was down the other way and was sort of, Jacob Javits is actually huge. I forget every time I go there how big it is. Like we were in like the subsection of Jacob Javits, like not even like the main side section. We were in the subsection, and it was massive. And they had 3 halls and like, all these breakout rooms. I didn't go to any sessions. I assume. Well, I know you didn't because I was with you.
I did not go to any sessions.
I mean, but everything else, the registration was nice. I thought the expo hall was really well set up. They kind of did the stuff in the back where you could sit. They actually replayed the keynote in the back, which is kind of cool. So you could go there if you'd missed it. You could go and sit in the back. They had the Salesforce big area. And then they had They had partners, not as big a partner community. It was basically all products.
It was all products.
I was surprised to see some partners had little small booths. That I was kind of like, boy, you're usually the person with the massive booth. I didn't think there was a lot of opportunity.
There wasn't even a massive booth. There were
2
bigger booths.
Well,
they weren't that
2 big ones in the middle, and then the side ones were all.
Yeah, they weren't that big though.
Well, they were bigger. Anyway, but I didn't think it was. I thought it was good. They served lunch.
I didn't actually get as much.
No, me neither.
Time as I wanted to on the floor looking at products.
Yeah.
So this is a good opportunity to actually spend more than a second with a product, and I just didn't have the time.
I've decided that I don't like doing that. I used to think that it would be fun to go from booth to booth and really get into the product and really ask the tough questions. The problem is, first of all, there's too many people there asking the not right questions. For me, right? Secondly, I don't really learn by someone showing me a 4-second demo and shooting me off the stuff that I can learn on literally a one-pager. I learn by doing. I learn by getting a trial. I learn by using it for 30, 40 minutes and really deciding. So I always think that I'm going to learn so much more than those, and then when I go to it and look at them, I'm like, I don't even know what this was. What is it? What is this now? Because they're all giving me like marketing garb and like, it's this, and this. And you're like, well, does it do this? Well, we'd have to get back to you on that. And you're like, oh, so you don't really know your product. I don't know. Like, that's the way I feel about it. We have products. We're going to put our products at Dreamforce next year. I'm going to make sure that anybody steps up and asks us a question. If they ask us how much our test code class is, I'm going to say, here it is. Because I feel like we should just be really good at knowing how to express what it is very quickly. Some of those I just feel like, we walked at one and we left not knowing what the product was. Like, I don't get it. What is that? And we spent 30 minutes at that booth. We have no idea what that thing is.
Not a clue.
Which is a little odd. So I guess, and then that was it. That was it for the whole CloudForce.
That was the whole shebang.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe they're just not going to do a Dreamforce East and West at some point, and just because it's getting big enough where
I'm going to both.
It's gotten as big as the first Dreamforce.
I'm going across the country. I don't care.
Well, I don't think they're going to let you in after this.
Yeah, they will.
Once this hit the airwaves.
Well, once they hear this, man.
Yeah.
No, this is constructive.
You have valid points, and I agree with you to an extent.
I had to play the bad guy because you were going to play the good guy. I could have played the good guy. It would have been hard.
Yeah.
I could have done it.
Yeah, it's also just a little bit close after Dreamforce. You feel like they're telling you...
too close.
You feel like they're telling you the same... This is second CloudForce.
I mean,
New York in a year.
To me, there was...
one 9 months ago.
They announced a new cloud. This social marketing cloud. And they spent like 4 minutes on it. I don't know if it's just not fully baked or something.
Not paying attention? I didn't see that. Marketing cloud?
At the end, the Radiant 6 it's the social marketing cloud. There's a new cloud.
I know.
And there was about 4 minutes spent on it, where there was 2 hours spent on something that we've already seen.
Yeah.
So like, I know we get on. I'm like, you guys show us stuff, then you deliver it like 12 months later. But if you're gonna do this whole visionary thing that's not necessarily tangible and real, then show me stuff that I haven't seen before then.
So let's take 5 minutes to talk about the event we went to before.
That's a good idea, because I like that event much better.
Because that actually, I learned more and more about the roadmap of stuff, and I learned stuff that's coming that I didn't sign in the NDA.
No, it's Safe Harbor, not NDA, right?
Safe Harbor.
What we saw.
Right.
And
so
we were.
I didn't sign an NDA, so I can talk about it.
Me either.
So, all right.
So there was an event in New York called Spark.
You go for it.
Spark your innovation.
I'll pull up my notes.
Go ahead. And it was held at the Ace Hotel, which was kind of like the first CloudForce New York. It was very small. It was in a small little area. Maybe 100 or so people, maybe a little more. 200?
No,
I think so.
Like 70.
No.
Yeah.
In my breakout alone, there was at least 50 people.
Okay.
Anyway. Well, there were 3 breakouts. If they're all 50 people, that's 150. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the Service Cloud breakout. Okay. So, started off with a keynote about the social enterprise and opportunities for partners.
Right.
This event was for partners only and partners who are certified consulting partners.
Right.
So, you could be a certified admin. You were not invited to this. Sorry. It was for certified Service Cloud, certified Sales Cloud consultants. And there was a 45-minute keynote about the social enterprise, basically rehashing all the things that Mark was going to say the day after and what we've already seen at Dreamforce. Burberry, Toyota, they hit them all.
Right.
And they had these breakout sessions. I went to the Service Cloud, which was essentially a roadmap session.
Yep.
So there was a bunch of the key topics that they hit on were knowledge, CTI, and Radiant 6.
So give me a quick 1 minute on each.
Yeah, and the knowledge to me was the most impressive. Knowledge with portals is gonna have a whole new face on it come spring, summer. Safe harbor applied, but the user interface for the customer service experience is going to change drastically, particularly where they talk about creating communities. Answers is going into like a chatter-like interface.
Right.
So it's going to be much more collaborative and social. You can take answers, make them into knowledge articles, things of that nature, and allow people to answer their own questions, which I think is the idea. That's ultimate deflection, right? So that to me was the cool part. There's a bunch of stuff on the knowledge roadmap that they should probably already have already. So just stuff that's coming down the road. To me, that was the best part.
Yeah, I started was going to do the platform one, but then the room was too small and I couldn't find a comfy seat, so I went to the sales one. Whatever. So same sort of thing. They came up. They did. It was a big long session. They had lots of it. It was a little bit of product here and a little bit of road mapping. We did see a little bit roadmap on Chatter before that. So obviously, with Chatter Now is coming. We saw Chatter Influence, which is very cool. So the concept of I think they were using because I recognize it because I'm on Foursquare a lot. They were using the kingship from Foursquare. But the idea that in Chatter, if people start to like certain things that you talk about, and that you can start to build influence, and that you can say this person has the best influence on, I guess, topic levels, something interesting like that.
Topics were the coolest part of that roadmap.
Yeah, so they showed like a topic page. So a topic, anything that I put a hashtag around, you could then go to a topic page, and you would then see people who follow that topic, basically areas of expertise or stuff like that, where there are things related to it, like a really cool way of basically bringing like a smart search. They talked about smart folders, what do they call it?
Smart filters,
smart
searches or something
for Chatter. So that's very cool. That's my thing. I saw demos of Touch. Learned that Touch will not be browser based. It will be hybrid based, meaning it'll be using a browser, but it'll be inside of an app, which is kind of interesting. They'll never do a native iPad app. They're not going to do that. They launched yesterday. They launched a mobile marketplace, which is for people to launch Salesforce apps, launch apps that are mobile that talk to Salesforce backends to use, and then can do that. Why
don't you just revisit the entire thing?
Well, no, I got one more.
What is it?
Social accounts. And so social accounts are coming sooner, which is the idea that you can look at an account and see if they have a blog associated to that account, a Twitter associated to that account. I think that's very cool. We track that in our work, but there's no way to really look at it.
What if they have two?
Social leads.
What if they have two?
I don't know. social leads, which you asked for, is coming.
I did.
Safe harbor. And the last one, which I thought was really cool, was tasks in Chatter. So the idea that you can assign tasks, doing a quick assign box sort of in your Chatter. If you're a Salesforce user and you don't realize that everything you're doing and will do is going to move into Chatter, you need to get on the bus, because it's all moving to Chatter. Approvals, ideas, tasks, everything's going to move to Chatter. You're going to be doing everything in Chatter. And the entire interface might be Chatterific. Wow. So anyway, that was a great event. We stayed for a while. Maybe took some of the bite out of CloudForce, because it kind of had a lot of the same content. All right, so let's get on with our CloudFocus App Pick of the Week, since we're running low on time. What's yours for this week?
Mine is it's social, and it was brought to my attention by one of the fellow Salesforce MVPs who put one of these things together for all the MVPs that were going to be at the CloudForce event, and it's called GroupMe. I've talked in the past about WhatsApp on my iPhone.
Yes, you have.
And
I think you've made it a pick.
I've made it a pick, and I really think GroupMe is actually a better version. So GroupMe is a cross-platform messaging collaboration service that works on the web, so you can log into groupme.com. It works on your iPhone, it works on your Android, it works on your BlackBerry, it works on your Windows Phone, and it also works over SMS. So everyone can use it. What it is these short form messages that are kind of like texts. Now, what's cool about it is it's very ad hoc. So anyone can just sign up for a GroupMe account and then create a group out of nowhere. Just new group called Salesforce MVPs at CloudForce. And that group gets a phone number. Every group gets a phone number. And you can have the app on your phone, or you can choose, like, message me through the app or message me just over SMS, and it'll just come from that phone number. The cool part is you can do group messaging. You can call the phone number that is assigned to your group and start a conference call, so everyone can just be like, dial into the number, and you dial in and conference call. You can share location, so you just hit map inside the app and it shows where everyone is, and you can share photos. These are some of the things that WhatsApp doesn't do all that well. You can do it, but not really, and it doesn't have that conference calling feature, which is pretty neat.
That's pretty cool.
And it's free. And it's really cool.
There's no pay version of it? Premium, pro version?
Not to my knowledge. It's just free.
Nice. All right, so that is GroupMe by GroupMe at groupme.com.
That's right.
All right.
Group it.
Or bump it
and group it.
Bump it, flip it, group it. That could have been a good title for this podcast. So I'm going to pick something that I've already picked before.
Great. I love when you do that.
But it has such a major update that it's like it needs talking about. And we could have brought it up, but since we're kind of in this thing, they launched 2 days ago. It's called Salesforce Viewer, and it used to be called Account Viewer by Salesforce Labs project. But now it's called Salesforce Viewer because it views, I think I picked this one in the dashboards, because it now can view every object. So basically it's an iPad app. So this is where the no iPad thing comes in, no native iPad. It's native to the iPad, and it's basically this great, and I know you love how I do this. So you log in using your Salesforce username and password, and then you got every object in your entire org available to you.
I like it.
And you could go into any one of the anyone, including solutions or custom things, and then it gives you kind of quick searches, like records I created, records I modified, records I own, and you could go in, like we keep all our projects, so here's recent records, I can see projects, I can click on those, they pull up information, it pulls up all of the related information in this kind of like side list. I mean, it's a really nice little interface, and basically a free iPad mobile version of Salesforce, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it went from being, again, just accounts to you get all this stuff, and it organizes it well.
It's read only, yeah? Viewer would imply read only?
Yes.
Is chatter in there?
Chatter is not in here.
Oh.
So it is another one of those. Chatter has been separated out. Well, let's see if chatter object is in here. No.
But like you can't see chatter on anything.
Right. So there's, but it does like instant mapping. It does the mapping for you already.
That's kind of cool.
It's a nice little app. I mean, I will say I use these now. Right. So I can't edit. You can FaceTime right from there if I want to, which is improv. You can follow. So if you can find
follow,
an object,
but you can't see anything.
Yeah. So I can follow or unfollow things. So it's a nice little app. I mean, again, free. Force.com Labs. It is called Salesforce Viewer now. It's actually an update to the other one. So if you had Account Viewer, this will just go update, be there. And that's it for this week. We will be back next week. Until then, we have a blog post that's in the works, but that'll go up probably soon. So didn't make it for this podcast. Go to blog.arkusinc.com for all the blogs and all the podcasts. Follow Arkus Inc. Follow Jason M. Atwood. And follow Just Edelstein on the big Twitter, part of our social enterprise strategy. We're at Facebook, facebook.com/ArkusInc. And we post everything there as well. Subscribe on iTunes, where you'll get the latest, like we're doing this on a Friday. So leave a nice review there. And also remember that you can, in the new blog format, you can actually comment on the blog. So using Discuss, which is really cool. So if you find one of the podcasts or blogs you like, you comment on it, and one of us will probably come back and comment with you. So we are fully social. But until next week, we'll be back with another episode of CloudFocus Weekly. I'd like to say, enjoy those cloudy days.